Now this meter here, kilowatt meter.
Correct.
That's what's going to the engine?
Right, so
well,
going to the electric wheel. Yeah, the electric motor essentially, then to the wheels. Think about your RPM. It measures essentially horsepower, right, off the engine. But we're not doing any rotating of the engine. The fuel cell is just doing a chemical reaction. But it is making a power, but instead of mechanical power, it's making electrical power.
Right.
So that's measured as a kilowatt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you were, say, on the freeway at 60 miles an hour and you were averaging about 30 kilowatts, now you did that for 1 hour, you've just made electricity or 30 kilowatt hours.
Now, what if I just had batteries in this car instead of the hydrogen thing? Would that work? If it's just all electric.
It's all electric. It will work differently. I don't know. I guess the question is
the range. Yes. How far will this go?
Yeah, there you go. The range. So if you
I couldn't go 150 miles.
On this car, you could go. We have a max range of about 180 miles on this generation.
Right.
Our next generation will have just over 200 miles, and we've just demonstrated
on the same amount of hydrogen, or more.
We were able to put. Yeah, you're limited in how much storage we can keep on this. So.
Right.
On our next generation, we have a little bit more hydrogen, and then our sequel vehicle, which is our most technological advanced vehicle in the world. That's any car. Mm-hmm. We just demonstrated 300-mile range.
On the same amount of hydrogen, like 3 kilograms?
No, not in 3 kilograms. No,
okay.
On what we were able to put on board on that vehicle. So essentially about 8 kilograms. You probably remember the EV1. Mm-hmm. A lot of that proven technology has launched this system that played an integral part in the development of the fuel cell and will continue to play an important part. So
right.
One of the problems then, and still a problem now, is the battery technology wasn't there. Now there's lithium-ion batteries are showing promise,
right?
And battery technology is still going to be an important piece with. Whether it's a plug-in hybrid that you're running or a fuel cell hybrid that you're running, batteries are going to play an important role.
So what if you just had batteries though?
Batteries are going to be limited on range. You will always be limited on range, and then you got to charge it. And you got to plug it in somewhere and charge it up.
Right.
That's what's nice about hydrogen.
Is you just have to buy hydrogen.
I just go and fill up like I do regularly on gasoline.
Right.
And then on top of that, we get the car out of the environmental equation. So that's the important part. That's the biggest piece. Is we want to get the.
Now, who makes hydrogen?
Air Products, BOC. Yeah, they sell it, and. But in addition to the cost of the hydrogen, you got to pay for the renting, you got to pay for getting it in the bottle. But per kilogram, hydrogen costs about $4.50 to $5 per kilogram. And 1 kilogram of hydrogen is equivalent in energy to a gallon of gasoline. So now you got 1 kilogram, 1 gallon, they're equivalent.
So they make hydrogen out of natural gas. Now, I have a friend that has a car that runs on natural gas.
Correct.
So why not just use natural gas?
You can use natural gas, sure. And natural gas isn't. It's still burned, correct? It's an IC engine.
Yeah, it's an internal combustion engine.
No matter when you burn, if you're burning with air and a combustible mixture, you're going to have the problem dealing with NOx. So you want a zero-emission vehicle. It's either electric or fuel cells, and fuel cells solve the biggest promise. So that's
when they take the hydrogen out of the natural gas, is there any byproduct there?
Sure, there is a byproduct. We'll pull in right here. There is a byproduct, just as there is in any refinery process. In this case, mainly what it is CO2. See, methane, as it is, or natural gas, methane is the smallest molecule. It's CH4.
Right.
Okay. So when you strip the hydrogen away from the carbon, you're left with carbon. Well, what do you do with the carbon? You can't just put carbon in the air. It combines and it goes to CO2. So essentially it's CO2 that you're making.
Right.
But, rather than having a billion vehicles doing that process, or you have one system or a refinery doing the process, you look at, even when we're looking at natural gas. Now that won't be the only way we can get hydrogen. Look at water, for example.
But how do you make it out of water?
You bring in electrical current.
So how much electricity does it take to make hydrogen?
It depends on the system.
Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, you have technology that's out there that's capable of anywhere from 60 to 80% efficiency on the energy in to the energy you get out.
Right.
And we look at no matter what the process is that you use to make hydrogen, whether it's natural gas reforming, whether it's using water, or whether it's using some other refinery process, we look at getting hydrogen available at what we call well-to-wheel efficiency. By far is the most efficient process.
So you have an electric plant making electricity that makes electricity to make hydrogen, and the hydrogen goes into the car.
And then gets converted to electricity.
It gets to electricity. So why not just have a battery and plug it in and charge up the car?
Well, there's no reason why you can do that. But
Yeah.
again, battery technology, the problem is it's limited on range.
Right.
So if you're just doing city driving, you will be able to do that. That's why you have the E-Flex vehicle.
Right.
Or something that will be a plug-in,
Right.
which the E-Flex will be. We'll also have plug-in hybrids as well, where you can plug into your home, and if you're just doing city driving, that's what you'll be able to do.
So-
But that's where the learning from the EV1 came into play.
Right.
You can't just do just battery. You're gonna have, if you want to go now, if you want to go 300 miles, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Okay.
You have to stop and charge.
Yeah, you got to chop and charge, and how long does it take to charge?
Right.
If you do a quick charge,
I
you're
mean-
not going to get that 100 miles back.
Right.
You gotta wait a good 8 to 12 hours,
And the EV1 only gets 150
and it
miles.
only
on
had
it,
a
right?
100-mile range, or 100.
Yeah.
I think the best it had was 180-mile range.
Right. Wow,
Okay,
that's a lot,
but
though.
it's a lot. That's right.
Well,
However,
for urban driving, it'd be perfect.
yeah,
I
perfect.
mean, you can go to the valley and back. You could drive all day.
Well, that's
I've never driven 180 miles in a day.
That's why we say that's why the E-Flex is so important, because it's not just one-dimensional.
Right.
The EV1 was one-dimensional.
Right.
Okay, we have other customers that want to go to Las Vegas. They don't want to have to worry about waiting and charging 6 miles. We have a customer.
They should fly.
Okay, well, in
Driving
any
sucks.
case, if I want to go 300 miles, I can do it. If I
Right.
want to go 40 miles, I can do it. And I don't want to mess up the environment while I'm doing it.
Right.
Okay, so we brought in the EV1. EV1, by far, there is nobody out there that argues that the EV1 was by far the best electric vehicle ever made. Well, we're already ahead of the game.
Right.
Now you bring in the fuel
With
cell
this,
technology
yeah.
because of its ability to give you the no emission, and you tie those two systems together, and what do you got? You got one heck of a product.
Right.
And so that's why when people say GM is out there on the curve, out there behind, that's why.
Right.
So
I see.
you know, there's a big thing, and you're going to start seeing the evolution of change. And really, we have to change as a car company. But you have the opportunity. Remember, you can lease the EV1s?
Right.
Well, now we're producing 100 Chevy Equinox vehicles that will be available to you starting September that you can lease.
And where will you get the hydrogen? Will there be places?
There'll be stations. Right now, there's about 23 stations total that are available
Around
publicly
this
and
area?
private. Around in California, north to south. With another 17 planned to come online.
Right.
But if you remember Governor Schwarzenegger's Hydrogen Highway, by 2010, the envision is to have 150 stations to 200 stations. So,
But he bought a Tesla.
hey, by 2015, we feel that you have the potential to possibly go out in the showroom floors and actually buy a fuel cell vehicle.
So are you saying by 2015 the internal combustion engine is really dead?
I wouldn't say it's dead. Internal combustion will still be there.
But why would you buy one?
Well, again, it's like you know.
If I went in the
it's
showroom,
going to be a custom of change. You're never. Eventually, maybe
right.
one point
I understand
down the
there's going to
road.
be a curve, but if I went in the showroom and you had this car, and even if it was $10,000 more, and I didn't have to spend $4,000 a year on gasoline, and the hydrogen was cheaper, or the electricity was cheaper, why would I buy an internal combustion car?
Well, again, you're talking in your personal preference.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody else's preference would be, I still want my Corvette, or I still want my.
But couldn't the Corvette be electric? I mean, it's got more torque.
You can be exactly.
Yeah.
You can be.
All right. Well, let's give somebody else a chance to drive.
You wanted to drive.
Yeah.
So here's
Shall I shut it off?
No, keep it on.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate the questions.
No,
and
that's
I
great.
hope the project goes well.
And what's your name?
My name is Michael Johnson.
Michael Johnson. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's cool.